You're wondering what minimalism is? Well, you better stay tuned because that's exactly what I'm talking about. Frank Thomas here from Wealth Generation Strategies. Welcome today. Today we're going to be talking about the topic of minimalism. When my wife found out I was talking about minimalism, she had a chuckle. She's like, Frank, you're the most unminimalistic man I know. Well, I think I am fairly minimalistic because I went and I did a bit of a search and I came up with some interesting facts about the whole topic about minimalism. Be sure to stay right to the end because I'm going to touch on what I think is the most crucial fact as part of the bonus. So make sure you stay tuned. I came across a definition online here, and pardon me, I am going to read it so I get it right here. Minimalism, yes, it's a tongue twister for me. Minimalism as a life philosophy boils down to living a simple life with fewer but carefully selected things, fewer commitments, and less noise to, instead, gain more clarity on things that truly matter, more time, and more calm. Wow, I love that saying. So let's break this down. Let's break this whole saying down and let's look at the different parts. Now, let me dispel a myth right up front. Minimalism doesn't mean you live in a cave and you have nothing. Well, maybe for some of us that's what it is, because you know something? I think minimalism is a spectrum. It'll be different for every person, basically. What you'll find is, overall, it's not a person living in a dumpster or in a cave and they can't have any possessions because that's their philosophy, etc., etc., etc. No, that's not my definition of minimalism. That's my definition of poverty. Minimalism, to me, is exactly what this definition talks about. First of all, one of the things it talks about, carefully select things. In other words, you don't buy to have, you buy to solve. Now, let me explain myself here. When you're buying things to have them, then you're accumulating stuff. You can't save if you're accumulating stuff. You're going to do nothing but build clutter in your life. That's what you're going to do. And I try very hard now, later in life, to avoid clutter like the plague. I buy what I think I need to solve a problem, not what I want to have. Sometimes I'll buy things in advance when they're on sale. But a lot of times I'll wait until there's actually a need that needs to be solved. And that's a big, big, big difference here. I have two examples in this realm for you. One is big purchase. We had to buy a vehicle just recently for my wife because the van we had just totally washed out. That was it. Game over. Not going to run anymore. That's the way it is. So we got rid of it and we had to go buy another vehicle. But then, even then, with that minimalistic attitude in mind and trying to save, I made sure I got as much physical value from the money that I had to purchase as physically possible. Second example. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, we went and had to go buy a new clothes washing machine. Basically, the one we have is about 13 years old and it's kicked the bucket. It's starting to leak like crazy. So we looked at having it repaired, and it really, because of its age, it didn't make sense to have it repaired. Unfortunately, we live in a consumer society that you buy something, you use it up, and you throw it away. Gone are the days when you buy something and you got it for the next 25 or 30 years. It just doesn't exist anymore. So I knew we needed to buy a new clothes washing machine. First of all, I did check to see, is it worthwhile fixing? And it was pretty much a no. Yes, I could save money in the short term, but I've heard once you touch the bearings and the seals and all that, they're apt to leak again in a short time. So it may be worth it, it may not be worth it. Depends on the repair person, but I've found that you could spend anywhere from $500 to $1,000 doing the repair, and you've already bought pretty much a new machine. I figured that option's off the table. Again, be smart about it. The second thing was I waited until I was sure that this was something we had to do. And we've been actually looking at this machine and checking it out and seeing what's wrong about it for about 3 weeks now. And we've come to that decision, okay, it's done. So we did our due diligence to make sure that we got all the value out of the machine we have, and I believe we have. So we went shopping. Now, I could have went and bought the first machine I saw, honestly and truthfully. When I added up all the taxes and the fees and the delivery and pickup and you name it, it was about $1,400 or $1,500. Everything said and done with taxes included to buy that machine. So now it's time to put my minimalism hat on. Yes, I know I need a new machine. And also too, I want to make sure I buy a good machine. I don't want to buy the cheapest thing on the shelf. So I made sure I looked to buy a good machine. I don't want to repurchase it in a year or two. What happened was I found at one of the big box stores that they had a few machines that were going out of season. In other words, they're being replaced by newer models, but they were better models. But because they were being replaced by this year's model, there's nothing wrong with the last year's model. They reduced the price by a few $100s just to clear them out. I'm like, bonus. So I continued to talk to the salesperson and I asked them, well, what else can you do for us? How can you help us out here? They would give us free delivery. We've already saved $200 off the top. That took off another $80. So we've saved $280. Plus, I said, well, is there anything else you can do for us? This is a bit of a purchase that I wasn't expecting. I have the money to purchase it, but I like to minimize the actual cost of it. The gentleman actually said to us, yes, absolutely. What I can do for you is I can give you a bit of a discount. And he took, I think, another $40 or $50 off the cost of the machine. So by the end of the day, we paid less for that machine, everything, all costs included, than we would have paid in another store just for the machine before tax. And I was very pleased. We literally saved about $300, $350 on the price of the machine. We got a good machine. We got a long warranty on it. And they're going to come in and they're going to do the full replacement for us. And that's exactly what I want. So that to me is a form of minimalism. Now, some may argue with me, no, Frank, that's not being minimalistic. To me, minimalism is being smart about your money. So carefully selecting things. Don't buy to have, buy to solve. So remember that. The second thing here, it talks about having fewer commitments and less noise. In other words, be very selective about what you enter into your life. You will find that life will consume all your time if you give it half a chance. You don't want that. You don't want to be in this position where you have no time to breathe because, hey, I am so guilty of this. I am so guilty of this. You want to make sure that you're in a position that you can be very selective about what you decide to bring into your life. And also, too, you don't allow the negative chatter into your life. There's a lot of Nancy negatives out there. And I'm sorry if your name is Nancy. I don't mean to put the name in bad light, but it does rhyme. But you don't want to have those people whom are negative to come into your life and grind you down. Promise you when I say there is more than enough people in your life who are willing to tell you the 10 reasons why something won't work. And one will say to you, hey, go do it, boy, go do it. Sometimes you got to keep your plans to yourself, even from your spouse, because they're going to think you have lost your rocker. Don't let the negative chatter in your life grind you down. Choose purchases also that add to your life in a positive manner. And again, commit to things that you're going to purchase that, from point number one, that solve a problem in your life. They're going to enhance your life. Stay away from purchases that are actually unnecessary and you come to regret days after you purchase it. Also, too, something people don't even think about, it's got nothing to do with money, but it's got everything to do with your life, and that is consider the stress in your life. What is bringing you stress and what is bringing you joy in your life? Enhance the joy and turn off the stress. Sometimes you got to get people out of your life. It's back to that negative chatter. Get those people out of your life. They're too stressful for you. I have a philosophy. If I ever find that a job becomes too stressful because of the requirements of the job and what's expected in that, I leave. And I've had to act that card once in my last 10 years. One time I had to say, no, sorry. And I handed my resignation and I'm done. But I tell all employers that when I get hired on. I said, look, years ago I went through very stressful time, and I ended up having cancer from it, and I went through treatment, and I made a vow to myself that I will never allow myself to get that stressed out ever again, and I stick to that vow. I live such a happier life, and it's funny because I avoid the stress in my life. It's not that you avoid the responsibility, that's different, but I avoid the stress that's unnecessary. Now, a lot of people walk around with what I call fake stress. They're worrying about all the things that are going to happen tomorrow, today. Do you ever realize today is going to become yesterday and you're not going to care anymore when it's past? There's nothing you can do about it. So all the things you're worried about didn't really matter. Choose what is important to worry about and repair that. Again, go back to, do you need to purchase something to make the problem go away? Do you need to do something to make the problem go away? What do you got to do to make that problem go away and reduce that stress? And finally, when I say in terms of the fewer commitments and less noise in your life, learn to say no. And I'm not saying don't be a 2-year-old and go, no, 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 no. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is learn to say no. We're so apt to want to help and please everybody around us. We can't say no. I have become an expert at saying no. I'll say, hey, I'm really sorry, but I really can't do that right now. I'm really tied right up. Sometimes I have to say yes. I have a responsibility and I got to deal with it. But there's times that I say, no, not today. Maybe tomorrow or maybe never. So think about that. Next, you need to gain more clarity. With all the things that we're doing here, you're going to find that one thing leads into the next. Now, when it comes to gaining more clarity, think about your decisions. Don't let the short-term concerns influence your long-term thinking. I've got a big decision I need to make when it comes to where I live because we're living a little far away from my current gig. It requires me to have a longer commute time than I desire. Thought was maybe we move closer to where the gig is. That way I can significantly reduce my transportation time. I thought about it though, and I looked at the cost and I looked at the upside. It's really and truthfully, it is a short-term problem. It's a problem that might last a year, maybe 2 years tops. How much am I willing to pay for that? How important is that time to me? If I sell my house where I'm at, it's going to cost me, bare minimum, $25,000 in fees. Also, it's going to cost me to move, and it's going to cost me the inconvenience. And you get where I'm going with here. Like, we can easily spend $30,000. Is that extra hour every day here and back really worth $30,000? I started to break it down and looking at it, and I thought, I'm trying to fix a short-term problem, and I'm not looking at the long-term influences of that. So I've decided that I'm going to stay put exactly where I'm at, and I'm going to persevere with the commitment of the transportation I've got to do, like the back and forth to work. That's fine. I like the job. I actually really love the job, what I'm doing. You got to take the good with the bad. So before we get into our bonus, I want to ask you, have you subscribed yet? If you haven't, please take a second. It only takes a second to subscribe. I'm trying to bring out videos that are really good, that help edify your life and help you build wealth in your life, whether it's wealth in life itself or wealth in the bank. I work towards both things. I talk about it once, twice a week for sure, every week. So be sure to subscribe. Enough of that. Let's get into our bonus here. Now, our bonus is really important. This is like the icing on the cake when it comes to the whole idea of minimalism. I'm sure a lot of people have been like, wait a second. Is Frank conning us? This is not a video about minimalism. Actually, it absolutely is. You take my initial statement that I said at the beginning, all these things are important because what's happening is you're minimizing what's in your life as a whole. But to our bonus here, learn to focus on what truly matters. And now we've been kind of saying this all the way through this video. Focus on what matters. Get rid of the noise in your life. I have found after being on death's door at one time that the most important thing in my life was my relationships. My relationships were paramount, and all the things that I thought were important, the house, the car, the good job, the position, the prestige, the toys, the retirement fund, everything. When you're about to die, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can't take it with you. It's what you leave behind in those relationships that's paramount. So always consider those relationships above everything else. That to me is what is the most important thing. If you can't at the end of the day go to bed and say, hey, I had a good day when it came to building my relationships, then you can sleep well. I hope this video helps you. There's another video coming up right now, and it's talking about frugality. In other words, it's going to give you 5 really awesome ideas to living frugal. Something, if you're interested in this topic, go check it out. And it's practical things that I'm going to be talking about, and some things that are just a little surprising by a few people. I've had a few people come back and say, wow, I never thought of that. So be sure to check out that video. If you do, I will see you over there. If not, thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.